Welcome to the Pucks with X podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Make sure to hit subscribe to the Bruins Rinkside YouTube channel and turn on notifications for when a new video drops on the channel. The show is also brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome into the podcast. This is the 211th episode of the Pucks with Haggs podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for commenting, interacting, sending us questions, all the stuff that you do. With me today on this 211th episode are the New England Hockey Journal's Mark Divver and longtime friend and colleague Mick Colageo. Mick, please tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
I have a blog called Rink Wrap that I link to on X and Facebook. And when the Hockey News Yearbook comes out, I'll have the Bruins article. And I'm presently working on a blog post that I'm still gathering materials, but it's going to be about basketball Stanley Cup.
Basketball Stanley Cup?
You heard it right.
What does that mean?
In short, the Walter Brown Trophy that was presented to the NBA champion from 1964 to into the middle of the 80s while they were transitioning to the Larry O'Brien Trophy. That bowl that Walter Brown's wife pointed out to him at an Ottawa jewelry store while they were following the Bruins on a trip was actually commissioned and owned originally by Lord Stanley of Preston. So the Walter Brown Trophy, which was the NBA championship trophy for several years, or the first NBA championship trophy, can be traced to the same guy who supplied the NHL with the Dominion Challenge, Hockey Challenge Cup that we popularly know as the Stanley Cup. So, and we have been to the Basketball Hall of Fame. We have the curator there searching out the photo archive. And we're trying to prove ourselves wrong, and everything we turn up is supporting the story that was originally reported back in the early 60s as an anecdotal story, and one that I'll be laying out with some photos and things. So I just think that, the NBA and Wikipedia, they got it wrong. They think the Walter Brown Trophy began being basketball's championship trophy back in 1947. That is not true. It wasn't presented until the Celtics won it in 1964. We haven't been able to find any anecdotal or team championship with the trophy prior to. It's supporting the story that Jerry Nason, the former Boston Globe sports editor, wrote in the early 60s. And there were other stories that even preceded his that came out of different places about this. And so it seems like the NBA and basketball world in general is lost to the fact that they have a Stanley Cup.
That is interesting, Mick. I didn't know any of the backstory of that. I'm looking forward to reading the story now. That was enough to whet the appetites of everybody out there.
This is what you get when you hang around with hockey historians.
I
don't mean you to me. I mean me to them.
That's right. Mark, anything else you want to plug besides the New England Hockey Journal? Feel free to do it right now, my friend.
I don't have a thing to plug at this point. I haven't done any real work in weeks. So
there you go.
Good for you.
Enjoying that July 15th to August 15th free time period when everybody's at their cottages.
Right.
Just kicking back and relaxing right now. I haven't had you on, Mark, since development camp. So just want to get your thoughts on watching development camp, seeing the prospects, what your observations were from watching the talent that was out there.
Well, I thought the level of talent was much better this year than in the past, say, couple of years.
Yep.
James Hagens alone raises the level, so it was great to see him. And just overall, some of the other draft picks I thought looked good, and I was. Long way to go here until some of these kids get there. But I was encouraged by what I saw.
I know you saw Hagens a little bit this past year, and you've seen him before. What's your just general thoughts on him as a player, strengths and weaknesses, where you think he ultimately could get to in the NHL. Just sort of, your feelings on him, just from having watched him over the years.
Well, the first time I saw him play, I think he was 13 years old.
Yeah.
I walked into a rink for an 8 a.m. summer tournament game, and somebody pointed him out to me, and it was like, wow, this kid is the best kid on the ice, and I think that's the fact that he's at the top of his age group pretty much tells the tale of how good he is and how good can he be. Well, I think that Jack Hughes comparisons are at this point are not out of line. Guys that can really skate, that almost it's almost as if they're gliding above the ice.
Yep.
Their skates aren't really digging in, it looks like. His vision, his hockey sense, I think all of that, his skating, all of that are key attributes. The size, if there's a flaw, he's not the biggest, strongest kid. Although I believe he's up to 190 now. He's getting thicker. He's never going to be a big kid, I don't think. But I don't think physical play is going to be his calling card. It's going to be skating. It's going to be vision. It's going to be offensive playmaking talent. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him at Boston College this year. I think he, earlier this week, playing in the World Junior Showcase in Minnesota.
Yep.
The first day, particularly, I think he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder this season, trying to prove people wrong that he shouldn't have fallen to number 7 in the draft, and that a higher. He deserved to be picked higher. I think that's going to be something to watch. I think we're going to see that this season, just a more aggressive mindset. But I'm looking forward to seeing him at BC. I think looking for him to take another step in his development, playing for a very good NCAA team, and we'll see how far he can help carry the Eagles this year. And I'd expect with a good season under his belt that would see him in a Bruins uniform. Sometime depending on how far BC goes in the national tournament. Sometime late March, early April, something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on, and it's setting up pretty well for him, because at Boston College, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the focal point of that offense, and he should be. And it really sets him up and allows him to be the kind of dominant force that I think everybody wants to see before he leaves college hockey and goes to the pros. And just watching him too, like you do see some players like him. Mark, when you talk about him gliding and sort of like skating, look like he's floating over the ice, like he's got the skating ability, that elegant, like skating ability, almost effortless, it seems like, but it's also the puck handling at the same time.
Yeah.
And, he's one of those, I've noticed this a lot, and I've mentioned this before with the lacrosse guys. The guys that play lacrosse and hockey seem to really have like their lower hand way further down on the stick. And it allows them to like quick turn and almost look like they're gliding with the puck too. And they can really maneuver it quickly, and they're hard to stop, and they can do it full speed. And it's one of those translatable sports that I think really helps hockey players if they're also playing that sport. And I know he was a pretty accomplished lacrosse player, but you'll notice it with a lot of the guys that play both sports, that they can look like that at times when they're playing. And it's with him though, what I notice a lot of times with the lacrosse guys that play hockey is they tend to try to play hockey like lacrosse, where they've got their head down and they're trying to just skate through everybody and get to the net like you would in lacrosse. Whereas in hockey, like he is one of those guys that he doesn't do that. Like he's got all these skills and the strengths and all the things that you get from playing lacrosse and also playing hockey, and the skills that he has, but he has his head up all the time too. Like he's a playmaker. He's creative. He notices when guys are open. He has like the best of both worlds when you watch him play, where he's got all of the skills to score goals, but he likes to set guys up, and he thinks the game extremely well, and he's going to be a playmaker too, which I think is going to really be, he's going to be one of those guys I think makes other players better on the ice with him when he's out there. So it's going to be really interesting to watch all of that as he develops. But I think you're right on talking about this Bruins development camp and the elevated talent level. And, there was star quality with Hagens, but I think in general, the skill level has raised significantly in the last couple of years with the last couple of drafts. They brought in a lot of talent over the last few years, and you can see it on the ice. And I think you're going to start seeing it in the next couple of years as far as prospects being produced as well. Outside of Hagens, Mark, at Dev Camp, anybody, a couple of guys that you either saw take a nice leap from last year, or maybe you noticed a little bit more? I know you talked about some other guys you noticed that from this draft class. Obviously, Will Moore, I think, has a lot of talent. The kid, Cooper, what's his name? I can't remember.
Cooper Simpson.
Yeah, Cooper Simpson,
Yeah.
the goal scorer for Minnesota. There was some guys you watch, and obviously Blenar, the defenseman from the Czech, I thought was pretty impressive as a skill player, as a defenseman too in camp. But some guys that maybe popped for you that you didn't know much about or hadn't seen too much before.
Well, obviously, I didn't know anything about Blenar, or the Czech, the mystery man from Czech.
Yes.
Interestingly, I've heard some rumblings in recent days that he might end up playing in the CHL, like maybe in Moncton this season.
Okay.
He didn't get taken in the CHL import draft, but I think I wouldn't be shocked if the wheels are turning someplace to try and get him over here, which I think would be, the Bruins, I think, would certainly be amenable to that, to have him where they can watch him easily on a regular basis instead of having to take a flight across the ocean. I continue to like Elliot Gronwald. He's not a guy. I saw somebody on someplace saying that they were excited about Elliot Gronwald, and I thought to myself, geez, I don't know. He's not the kind of player that makes you excited.
No.
To me, I like him as a shutdown, solid as a rock defender. Bottom pairing probably. But I've noticed him again this week for the U.S. team in Minnesota. He's just a very solid player.
Yep.
Big and physical. I like him. I think he's taken another step after a year in college. I think Chris Pelosi is closer to the NHL or closer to the pro hockey than a lot of people give him credit for. I don't think he's far off. I'm not saying he's going to step into Boston's lineup, say the end of the season, but I think he's made a lot of progress, and I think he's a very solid prospect. Who else?
Grunwald is interesting. I like Grunwald. I noticed him last year right away, and liked him in that first development camp. Like, he's got the size, he's got the attributes you're looking for like what you're talking about, a bottom pairing defenseman, but he also like has offensive skill to make plays, like, more often than not. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a guy that is just not going to know what to do with the puck when he gets it either, which I think is really good and equates to a guy that, you look at as a bottom pairing guy, but could potentially develop into a top four defenseman, because I think the offensive skill set is there for that to happen if he gets the opportunities.
Well, he's so young. He's doing what he's doing at 19.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid's a year younger than Pelosi. He doesn't turn 20 until February. So that's what I kind of jacks me up about this kid, is that he functions well against the man hockey that he faces at his level. And big boy hockey, he's fine with it at such a young age that alone kind of makes me think that, he's not like he's some sort of freak to do that. He's just a good all-around player. That makes me think that, wow, he's such a big kid. Let's see what happens.
But to your point, Mark, fair or unfair, you're never gonna those type of players. You're never gonna think, "Wow, I can't wait to get to development camp to watch that guy."
The other kid that's like that, I think, is the Johansson kid, a
Yeah.
draft pick from
Whoa.
a couple of years ago. He's another guy in that mold, big, physical, efficient, but not someone you buy tickets to go see, but still a good prospect. And I think he'll take another step in Providence this year. Getting back to Gronwell for a second, talking to Rand Pecknold during the season last winter, about his play and where Rand sees him, and Rand said basically he's got everything he needs. What he doesn't have is reps. He played prep school hockey. He did 1 year in the USHL. Now he just needs games. He needs games, big minutes in key situations. He's getting that at Quinnipiac. So I think the Bruins got a good one there.
It's been good to see Rand at the rinks a little bit this summer too. My son Finn and his son have been playing in tournaments for different teams, so I've seen him milling about at the rinks over the summertime. His son's a pretty good player.
Yeah, Rand's a rink rat.
Aren't we all?
A few years ago, I remember chatting with Rand at some event at Marlboro. And Rand pointed out to me, hey, see that kid there? That kid's the best kid in his age group in North America. Not in British Columbia or in Canada or in whatever. It was in just the best. And it was, I was like, who's that kid? Oh, that's Connor Bedard. You're going to be hearing about him. So
yep.
Rand knows his stuff.
Absolutely. One guy that I did want to mention to both of you, and I want to mention him because we've talked a bunch about him, and I certainly talked about him last year at development camp and not being wowed by what I saw. Flashes, but like not overly impressed with Dean Letourneau. And I thought he was better in this development camp. I thought he looked much more like he belonged. He looked much more like stood out at times. Certainly, I thought was solid in everything that he did. There weren't the things that I saw last year that told me he wasn't going to be ready for Boston College this time around. And it tells me he's going to be ready for BC this year, and that in the grand scheme of things, he would have been better off this being his freshman year. But I think that experience might end up making him a better player in the long run, and give him a little bit of a chip on the shoulder for him too, to really prove himself and show what he can do. And I was encouraged by what I saw at Dev Camp out of him.
Yeah, I agree. He was better. Still miles to go before he's ready for pro hockey. But yeah, he's definitely better, and we'll see if he can produce more at Boston College this year than he did last year. Not to dump on the kid, but it wouldn't take much to produce more this year than he did last year. Let's face it.
No. And the opportunity will be there with guys like Ryan Leonard and Perot gone. The opportunity is definitely going to be there for him to step up.
Yes, he has to get strong enough to win 50-50s.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something he couldn't do against more compact, developed, mature bodies in the top level of NCAA. He couldn't win those pucks. He was always on his knees in these scrums. We've seen that in the NHL with guys who come in at 18, 19, and even elites. And I think that Letourneau's game overall I love the look of it. It's just that if he can't win pucks and can't win battles because of physical strength with that gangly body of his, then he can't make it all work out. But I look forward to the moment when he starts winning those, because all hell might break loose, because he does a lot of other things well.
Somebody made a comparison to Brian Boyle. I can't remember who it was, but
it wasn't me, but I heard that too. Yeah.
And he's a long way from that, because Brian Boyle was a man. The second, when he was playing college hockey, and Dean isn't to that point right now. But
he had a dozen scouts at his St. Sebastian's games.
If he could be have a career that runs along the lines of Brian Boyle, then I don't think I don't think there's anything to complain about there. Brian had a great career, and if Dean can go down that road, that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree, but he's miles away from that,
Yeah.
and that's going to take probably a transition or change of even mindset of the way he plays if he wanted to be that kind of a player. But to your point, I remember watching Brian Boyle play at Boston College. He was pretty dominant right off the hop when he got there, and he was a standout player. The one thing I noticed with Dean last year at BC was that he just didn't even have the puck a lot. He did not have the puck much at all when he was out there. And to Mick's point, I think that's winning puck battles. That's being able to fend off people when you have the puck and just being fast enough to get to the places you need to get to in order to get to the puck in good spots. I think all of the above were works in progress last year, where there were long stretches of games where you just didn't even notice them because he either didn't have the puck or wasn't around it. And you expect that that's going to change this year at BC for a lot of different reasons.
Well, that's a sign of a player who's not ready for the level he's at.
Yep.
He can't possess the puck. Somebody's taking it off him, or he can't get it.
Yep.
Not to compare Hagens and Letourneau, in any way, but Hagens has the puck the whole game.
Yeah.
That's one thing you notice about him. He's always got the puck. So
really
they're
looking
different.
Forward to seeing
Obviously
how
different.
Hagens fares against top matchups in the coming season, because as you were speaking about him earlier, it was firing off in my head how impressive he is with the zone entries and how he manages to improvise without losing speed, and he plays with courage over the blue line with the puck, and not reckless, not like looking for concussions or anything, but he's not shy. He doesn't back off. He comes in with the puck and he believes in his skills, and they're there. The hands, the eyes, the wheels. He's got it, and it's fun to watch him enter the zone with the puck. I'm looking forward to seeing this next phase now where he's the guy, and it isn't going to be these, some of these other guys who've been playing for them these last couple of years. It's going to be him. So
he's always had
forward
the
to
tough matchup, though. The other team always has their best D out when he's on the ice. That was the case last year and in earlier years.
because he was with Perot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very good, gentlemen. Let's take a break here. We're going to talk about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America and the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Join over 10 million users and get started today. Instead of battling thousands of other players that could be pros or sharks, you simply pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll right in. It's fun, and it is super simple. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite hockey players with players from baseball, basketball, esports, and so much more. PrizePicks now offers Venmo and MasterCard and Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. You can now win up to 2,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Let's also let everybody know that you are listening to the Pucks with Haggs podcast, and we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS and enjoying all this hockey talk, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Bruins Rinkside YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Bruins content with fellow Bruins talkers like Conor Ryan and Evan Marinofski. There's also the CLNS Media Network and Celtics All Access on CLNS, the NBA History Channel, Patriots Press Pass, and Bruins Rinkside YouTube channels as well. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new Pucks with Haggs podcast video drops on the interwebs. All right, let's get back into it. We talked about this before we started recording. And since we're talking about the Bruins prospects and development camp, I think one of the Bruins sort of like news nuggets of this week was Cole Spicer, a former Bruins draft pick who had left Minnesota Duluth and had gone to Arizona State after playing in Dubuque, playing some junior hockey. It has come out in the last couple of days that he's going to be leaving Arizona State and he won't be playing there as well. There's some talent there, Mark. He's had a good season at Dubuque. He did pretty well at Duluth. He's had some concussion issues. He's had some academic issues. This is now the second college hockey program that he's left. I wonder if there's not, and he wasn't at Bruins development camp, I wonder if there's not much of a future with Cole Spicer and the Bruins, just based on stuff that's happening now. But I would think for him as a player, he's just got to go somewhere and play and probably try to sign somewhere or go back to junior, whatever he can do. He's actually got to play some hockey to like up his value in his stock.
Well, he had a good year in the USHL, this past year. I don't know. I don't know what his. It looks like college is out for him.
Yeah.
So where does he go? Do the Bruins bring him in, say in Providence on a PTO and see what he has, whether he's able to, whether he's ready to compete at the pro level? I don't know. Or do they say, you know what, we write it off as a pick that didn't work out? You kind of hope for the kid's sake that he can salvage a hockey career out of what's happened so far. But I don't know what his options would be at this point.
Yeah, it becomes tough, right? Like once you've started gone in and out of a couple of different places like that in college, and maybe you're just not like college material. Some players are not that, and that's fine. Some, I'm way more into the hockey than the academics. It's about the hockey for them, then that's fine. Like, find somewhere where you can just play hockey. But the problem is, like, once that happens a few times, I think it starts to impact how you're viewed by like the team that drafted you and other teams around the league. And I think at this point, Cole Spicer just needs to find a place to go where he can play for a while, have something stable happen, and sort of, stabilize his career a little bit. Don't you think, Mick?
Yeah, assuming he's healthy. There's been discussion about concussions.
Yep.
So he's got to make sure he's clear-headed in the literal sense as well as everything we've talked about. And at 21 is not old, especially in today's developmental pro hockey system. It's almost like what USA Hockey did with the ADM and trying to not take a snapshot at a certain age and say, you're going to be a hockey player and you're not.
Right.
Let's leave it open. And so I'd like to think that the Bruins are going to see every possible opportunity to let this kid, fourth round pick, by the way, 117th overall in 2022, that he can find his way. And most of the time, this winds up being several pro organizations too. That's usually what happens in a case like this. But I think that they probably, if they made an internal decision, I bet it's not as much about their feelings about him as it is about all the players they now have to look at because of the widely expanded draft and prospect capital that they have as a result of March 7th.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson too, though. Like that there's a finite amount of time that you need to show what you can do, and in pro hockey, a couple years down the line, somebody else might come in, and that's it. Your spot is gone. You kind of have to. That's why you always have to be at your best, and you always have to be on point with everything that you're doing in those cases. And some people that are extremely dominant and extremely, have come in with these huge reputations, they might get a few extra shots. But for most players, it's going to be, you got to show what you can do right away. Otherwise, it starts to turn towards somebody else. I just hope he finds a place to play and he feels healthy and he can, just play games and produce. But, at the age that he's at, the options start getting limited too. Which is another part of the problem. But it would be interesting if it, like Mark said, if they brought him in on a PTO just to give him a look, let him practice, maybe play a few games and see where he's at. I think that would be, a smart thing to do. But it's like, where is he going to be skating, and what is he? Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I think a PTO in Providence would be his most likely.
Yeah.
If they were gonna take that route, I think that's.
But like, where is he even going to be? Like training camp, you know what I mean? Like, where is he going to be skating this fall to get ready for that? Where is he going to stay in shape? To get ready for something like that. That's where it becomes, problematic for him. Where he's got to find some place to just like, sharpen his skills and be ready for like whatever's going to happen.
Well, my understanding, he's been at summer school at Arizona State for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I would assume that the hockey players there who are in summer school have a workout regimen, like all college, high level college programs have. So,
yep.
I think it's not like he hasn't been skating for, since the end of the season. I think he probably has been. Where it goes from there, I mean, who can? It's really up in the air at this point.
Yeah, and there's a limit to how grueling those summertime workouts are with the college hockey players. I used to see the BC guys working out at Bach in the summertime, and it amounted to like half ice 3-on-3 that they were playing for like an hour. So, it was basically shinny that they were out there doing for an hour.
Yep.
So you would expect that he's maybe doing more than that, but it could amount to just something like that as well. But the point being, like, what structure is he going to have when school starts if he's not in school? Is he going to go to Bruins camp to try to get ready, for a PTO after that? Probably not. Maybe. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. But there's a lot of stuff up in the air with him right now that's got to get figured out. All right, let's move on to a question that we have from Duncan Sewell Insuk. He says, thanks for being so open to taking questions. Hopefully you have some time this week because I have another. What do you think of Jordan Kyrou as a trade target? I like his speed and his playmaking, and he fills the need for a top six scorer while not being super high profile guy, making him more affordable in my eyes. I imagine their first round pick in an NHL ready young guy would be the starting point. Which first round pick would they want? I would also include Patra as that young guy, given there are questions about if there is a spot for him in the top six in Boston. If he shows that he can beat out Mittelstadt, then you've got really good value in him. Would it take more than that? Thanks again, and keep up the great content. Mick, any thoughts on Jordan Kyrou trading a first round pick in Matt Patra?
The attraction with Jordan Kyrou is that he does athletic things on the ice. He makes plays that look hard to make, and bursts of speed, skill, aggression. Everybody wants a player like that. So the idea that the concept that, hey, Patra might not be good enough for us, but maybe we can send him somewhere else. Remember where you are and who you are, is what I say to anybody who poses these questions. Teams don't look down, they're looking down their nose at the Boston Bruins right now. And neutral site people are not looking at the Bruins as a playoff team. They're looking at them as a top three, a bottom nine. And if Patra can't elevate that, what business do you have posing him as a comeback for somebody that the Blues would cover and let the Bruins get at Jordan Kyrou? Yeah, I mean, Kyrou's kind of like a tease. It makes you think he's going to give you more than he does. He's going to be one of those guys, I think, his whole career where people want something more from him because he looks really good when he's out there. And I don't know, I guess I feel teased watching him too. I feel like, wow, this kid's good. Then there's not the body of work that you kind of anticipate. So I don't know. I look at, I mean, he had 36 goals last season. That's a good season, so why do the Blues want to move on? And, I don't know. I just don't think the Bruins have everything the Bruins do to get an impact player that's going to come in and help their team right now and change the trajectory of the 25-26 season. It's going to hurt. And right now, identifying Matt Patra is the premise there is that it won't hurt. It'll have to hurt to get a guy like this.
Well, and a guy who has a pretty good read on Matt Patra is Jim Montgomery, the coach in St. Louis. So, I think you need to take that into consideration as well
Good point.
before the assumption, if there's an assumption that the Blues are even interested in him. There's that. But I don't know. Does that move the needle for the Bruins at this point? Really? Does that get them in the playoffs? I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Me neither. I don't think by himself that's what does that. I think that no matter what happens here, the Bruins need Mittelstadt, not as dramatically as Morgan Geekie did last season, but they need him to become Don Sweeney's latest success story and his recent line of get a guy who hasn't really hit it right at the right time in his career, bring him here, inculcate him, and see if we can get him to tap into him and inspire this guy to bring out his best, like Geekie, like Pavel Zacha, like Hampus Lindholm, those kinds of guys that have come to Boston after meandering in the earlier stages of their career. Mittelstadt needs to be that next guy for them. If that doesn't happen, the Bruins have a huge problem on their hands.
Yeah, and I think the Bruins have a huge problem on their hands. I'm not confident that he can be that guy. I've never seen it with him. I've never seen it with him.
I've seen. I got to be honest. Like, I didn't notice him a tremendous amount when he played for Buffalo. When the Bruins were playing against them, like, he's not a guy that really stood out to me too much. But like watching him now when he was with the Bruins after he got traded, you see the flashes.
Yeah.
You can see the skating is really good. You see he's got skill. He can see the ice. He can make plays. He's pretty good on the power play. And he can set guys up, but like not consistent, not strong on the puck at all, not interested in playing defense. Like, there's a bunch of stuff there where it's like, I don't know how this guy is going to be as a center, if he's going to play center for a long period of time, and if he's going to be playing a significant role for this team. And I don't know if he's going to be consistent enough to like be productive. I think there are good reasons why he's never put up a really good productive season in the NHL. And to Mark's point, I'm not sure at the age that he's at, a lot of that is going to change. But like, there's no doubt he's in a position right now where the Bruins need him to step up and produce some offense, whether he's going to be the second or third line center.
He's an okay player on a bad team.
Yeah.
That's where he is right now, in my opinion. I'd love to see him take another step, but at his age and this far into his career, it usually doesn't happen that way. With Geekie, yeah, they uncovered a gem there, but I don't see it. I don't see it with this guy. I hope I'm wrong.
With McAvoy and Lindholm hurt after the trade deadline, the Bruins were a very bad team.
Yep.
And so
they were.
And Mittelstadt, I wouldn't even call. I mean, I think that Mark, you hit it. That was his ceiling at that point, was to be an okay player on a bad team, and I don't even feel like he lived up to that. He just played. I don't know. I look at him like, Craig Gianni. I'm thinking of Craig Gianni a lot when I see James Hagens, because of his improvisational ability carrying the puck and creating offense and continuing to go forward. Gianni could also have some really off nights. Mittelstadt reminds me of that every night. And so he needs to become good Craig Gianni. Right now, he's not good. He's bad Craig Gianni.
That's a tough place to be, bad Craig Gianni. All right, one other question. I got a bunch in the Q&A this week, which I thought was interesting, over at Boston Sports Journal. Check that out. All subscribers, I have a Q&A with them each week over at sportsjournal.com. So subscribe and you can join the question and answer. A bunch of people asked me about Matt Grzelcyk, and not signed right now, and whether the Bruins would potentially bring him back for a look, because he's not signed. And I went and looked, and he had a good year in Pittsburgh, solid. I think he was a minus player, but like, he had 40 points. He had a ton of assists. He had I think he was the leading assist guy on the power play for them, which is pretty impressive. So he must've been playing top power play with Sid a bunch. So he's, it's interesting that he had a solid year like that, and he wasn't brought back by Pittsburgh. I think that is telling to a degree. But in your mind, Mick, do you think there's any chance they would bring him in and add him to the defenseman mix that we have going on here since he's not signed?
I think had Jordan Harris not been acquired, then maybe. But I think that the Harris being a left shot over there with a smallish with skill, with NHL reps, impressive player at times with Montreal, and as they transition to becoming a better team, um, I'm looking at I'm looking at a no room at the end kind of situation. So maybe it's like, we love you, buddy. So come here on a PTO.
Right.
And if we get injuries or if you get an opportunity elsewhere, that's the way I think we see Grizz. The way we saw Heinen, I think is the way we see Grizz if we see Grizz.
Yeah, or Pandolfo when he came. Yeah, I was, and that's how I responded in the Q&A. I said I think the only route he would end up in Boston in training camp is on a camp tryout sort of thing if he didn't get a guaranteed NHL contract anywhere. And even then, I think it would be a tough numbers situation. But you never know with injuries and what's going to happen. And we still don't know that Hampus Lindholm even is going to be healthy based on the way the season ended. All signs are he's going to be healthy, but he's going to have to show it on the ice and in camp. Mark, your thoughts on Grizz, the season he had in Pittsburgh, and any shot whatsoever to get a look from Boston here?
I don't think he'll get. I don't think we'll see him in Boston again. I think he'll get a contract before training camp with somebody.
Yeah.
Because he did have a good year. He's been a productive player throughout most of his career.
Yeah, he was playing 20 plus minutes. I should mention too. He was playing a top 4 role in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think he'll land on his feet someplace. I just don't think it'll be Boston. And getting back to Jordan Harris for a sec, I wonder. He's on a one-way contract. I think he kind of skipped the American League step in his career. He went pretty much straight to the NHL. I wonder if would it be good for him and good for the Bruins for him to spend, I don't know, say 2 months in Providence as a top defenseman, playing big minutes in all situations, and learning maybe more about playing D at the at a higher level than he did when he went straight to Montreal. I'm not predicting that. I'm not, I think the one-way contract is a sign that they think he's going to be up top. But what if he spent some time, under Ryan Mougenel in Providence and learning, taking that step instead of skipping it. I'm just curious to see where that goes, or if I'm just full of it, which has happened a time or two in the past.
Well, I mean, people are saying, "Oh, the Bruins are going to lose DiPietro on waivers." Do you think that they? I don't see that happening. Do you see them losing Harris on waivers if they cut him, or you think they're definitely going to keep him around? Don't you think he'll be one of the 7?
I don't see them losing him on waivers. Yet. If he, I think he needs to put some good games together, or a good stretch of games together before somebody would take that chance. On a one-way contract, but I don't know. He couldn't.
Maybe that's why the one way.
He was having trouble cracking the lineup in Columbus, was he not? In second half of last season.
Yeah, I'm not aware on that one, but I know that he wasn't regular.
Yeah.
One other guy I wanted to ask you about, Mark, since he played a bunch in the NHL, AHL the last few years, although he was out west, so I don't know how much you saw him in person, if at all. Anything on Victor Söderström? Thoughts on him coming in? His last year in the A was very good. He went to Sweden last year, kind of took the unconventional route, didn't re-sign with Arizona, decided to go home to Sweden, had a good season there, and now comes back here after getting traded to Chicago, where he never played a game, and then a month or two later gets traded to the Bruins for Ryan Mast, and I think it was a 7th round pick.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up because he's a guy who I'm interested to see in training camp exactly
Me too.
what he is, and obviously a high pick and one that maybe Arizona or Phoenix or whatever they were at the time regrets now, but I'm curious to see what kind of what he brings. If they could somehow turn a distressed asset into a player who can help them, well, that would be well worth the price of Ryan Mast, who wasn't going to play in Boston, at any point.
Yep.
But what exactly is this guy? Asking around about him a little bit, I was told that he's a bottom six guy. He's not a top four. That is, that he's limited, even though he's known, I think, as an offensive player. He doesn't have the kind of offensive skill that makes you raise your eyebrows and say, "Wow, he's this guy's got something."
Yeah.
At least that's what I was told. So
Okay.
I'm interested to see exactly what he looks like. I never laid eyes on him in the American League. As playing out west there. Those teams are, to me, are just a rumor. I never see those teams. So I'm curious to see what, if anything, he turns out to be.
You were curious too, Mick? You looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table here?
Absolutely. I think that, especially since he's a right shot, the Bruins don't have nearly as much depth in the right shot as they do in the left.
Yep.
So having guys who they consider potentially viable for their lineup in situations when they need players, especially given what they went through this past season with injuries to top guys, it's these are always intriguing players for me. So, it kind of, moved past the Ian Mitchell era, and now we're into the Victor Söderström era.
That reminds me. One of the guys I asked about him said that if he works out, he's a little bit of an improvement on Ian Mitchell in that guy's opinion. So
there you go.
Take that for what it's worth.
The Bruins have that going for them, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that like an improvised Bill Murray quote from Caddyshack?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, like the depth is good though. If he turns into a viable guy when injuries hit that they can bring up and give some NHL time to, and he can play a bottom pairing role, then that's great. You can't have enough defensemen that can be able-bodied and play at the NHL and move the puck a little bit and not self-destruct in the defensive zone. So
he's going to be motivated. He's going to be motivated, I suspect, after washing out of two organizations. I don't think Chicago even gave him the time of day. I think they took him in the whatever the trade was. I don't think they had any plans for him.
No.
So he is this his last chance to play in the NHL and be carve out a niche? It probably is. So he's going to be motivated.
Yeah, I would think so. Mid-20s, having gone through two organizations, I think this would be it for him. So he'll definitely be motivated. It'll be interesting to watch how that whole thing plays out, especially with the Bruins defenseman core, where you feel like the top six is pretty locked in. As long as there's no injuries, everybody's got their spot. But there's definitely going to be competition for the seventh defenseman spot. That'll be interesting. All right, Mark, Mick, thank you very much for joining us. Another award-winning edition of the Pucks with Haggs podcast right there. Welcome to the Pucks with Haggs podcast. Or I should say thanks for listening to the Pucks with Haggs podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Make sure to hit subscribe. Just make sure to hit subscribe to the Bruins Rinkside YouTube channel and turn on notifications for when a new video drops on the channel. That's what happens, Mick, when the stupid host just reads word for word what's on the read instead of improvising there. This show brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Mark and Mick, thanks very much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Everybody else out there, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you at the ring.